Welcome. I'm Jessica Fenton. The gentleman to my left is Slim Stevens. Welcome.
Igualmente.
Okay. So the sponsor has given us a list of topics to work on, but I think we should just probably talk about whatever we want.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I see that the producer pulled a lot of quotes from things I've said in the past, so I guess I'm in trouble if I come up with any alternate facts. But it's an amazing feeling. 3.5 months, I think, since the music died and we had the power failure, and to have played here today with you, I feel so fortunate that we actually got it done.
So any tingles?
Any tingles today?
Feelings? Yeah.
Yes, I did get a tingle, but I can't remember which song it was right now. But it was definitely a strong tingle. And just walking in this building gave me a tingle.
Great. So what is the quote of the week?
The quote of the week, thanks for asking, is "Don't interrupt my fantasy by reminding me that you are real."
Mm-hmm. And the cartoon of the week?
Cartoon of the week, I will give it to you right here. They will have it in the screen. I don't have time to talk about this now. Can't it wait until we're dead?
Great.
That is
Great.
Definitely the quote of the week.
So anyway, what's new with you?
Well, you know, probably my favorite song of all time is "Knocking on Heaven's Door." And last 24 days ago, I got "Knocking from Heaven's Door." I got boom, 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 boom right here. And I called 911. And I didn't know what it was. But it was knocking from heaven's door. And I read later that pulmonary embolisms, 1/3 of them, are fatal. So I feel like a very lucky man, and I can't believe also that I got here today without any repercussions. I did find that there's a blood thinner Pro Tools app, and it really makes my voice, I would say, whiny. Oh, that's W-I-N-E-Y, whiny obsolescence is what it's called. Are you familiar with that? And I know you do a lot of movie
film
editing.
I am an expert in all things music production, but I'm going to have to say no.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so you've been reading Bruce Springsteen, his new book lately? Am I right? So I'm just waiting for you to quote that. I know you love to read and quote.
Well, yeah. First of all, my ambivalence. I've accepted, as you know, Bob Dylan as my personal savior. Mm-hmm. And, well, here's the quote. They have it. "I have accepted Bob Dylan as my personal savior, and his path is the only path to heaven. And all others are charlatans, unworthy of his ability to put a picture on a feeling without being trite. I am a say that 3 times, one pony show. So I'm mad at good old Bob for leaving his niche of being honest about his shortcomings and painful imagery." The last concert I went to of his, I try to go to the mall whenever he's local because he's my hero. I thought I had done another Merriweather Post problem. What's it called? What's the one right in Virginia off 66, right in Close? The music venue. Anyway, I go over there, and I was sure I was in the wrong place. Several years ago, I was going to meet my friend at Merriweather Post, Tom Migalski, and I drove to, what's that venue called? Anybody out in this room remember where that?
What town? Put it in a zip code.
Where do you play? Like it's 66. It's right off the right. It's called.
Help me.
It'll hit me in a second.
Birchmere.
No, it's outdoor. It's the big outdoor.
Wolf Trap.
Wolf Trap, right. So I drive to Wolf Trap, and I'm hearing this mariachi music, you know, and this guy gives me a ride in on a golf cart. I was a little late, and I'm thinking, boy, Bobby's really going.
Changes.
Turns out I was supposed to be in Merriweather Post Pavilion. Okay. This time I go back.
That's sad.
I go back to see my hero, and I get in, and I see a little man singing show tunes. That really hurt my feelings because he left his, what I considered his niche. Mm-hmm. Poor Bob. So I've been reading memoirs of musicians, Phil Collins, Freddie Mercury. By now I think I've read every music memoir that's ever been written.
Okay, well, what have you learned?
What I've learned by reading these music memoirs is that all of us have a story deep within our chest, longing to be told. And I also learned that in most cases that's exactly where it should remain, deep inside their chest.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, so I hear you have a t-shirt that says Black Lines Matter. I'd really like to hear your explanation of that.
The reason I have a t-shirt that's called Black Lines Matter, and I keep it right next to the one that says life sucks and then they send you to the home, is because these guys were not motivated by what they were saying. Now that's kind of an awful thing to say about the average successful musician, and maybe it's because of my own, what's the word I'm looking for, snobbery. But the reason I have a t-shirt that says Black Lines Matter is because to me and my friend Bob, the words come first. So that's why I have the t-shirt on it.
Some Springsteen quotes?
Okay, good. You're going to hear the first. I have 3 Springsteen quotes. Say that fast.
Nah.
I have 3 Springsteen quotes I'm going to share with you. But first, let me give you another disclaimer. This is what I wrote before. Until I read his book, I had never listened to one of Bruce's songs, except one, and that wasn't by choice. And it left me completely cold and annoyed at what I thought was obvious gimmickry. So I was completely neutral, except for the fact that I just told you I was turned off, and except for the fact that I was bothered by the fact that he was popular, because I wanted everyone to adore my own hero, good old Bob. But of course, I knew I was the only one who actually appreciated my hero. Isn't that the way it goes with religious idolatry? I'm the only one who prays the right way. I think half the Bible is concerned with that very issue. So I never accepted for a second that Bruce had any right to introduce Bob or pay tribute to him. Sort of made me mad when he introduced him. So with that background, I pick up his book, and you can imagine what I was expecting. But voila, he is beautifully honest and caring, and actually gives a roadmap to his soul and his fears and the things he is proud about. And I am aware of the Philistines who contend that my friend Bob is somewhat obtuse in his own memoir. Da-dun, da-dun, dun, dun. Now you ready for the first Springsteen quote?
Bring it on.
I made you wait for a while. At any given time, 15 people are walking out.
That's
so
it?
That's
interesting.
That's an interesting, you read from these guys. So when he's playing at a venue, he has to deal with the fact that 15% of the people at any given time are leaving, walking away. Maybe that's why people like to play in small clubs. Of course, then 15% are walking away. So anyway, that's the quote.
So what's the next one?
The thing I liked really, the thing that touched me the most in that book was a tingle, because he talked about pretending to be asleep in his parents' car when he got home from a trip so they would be carried to bed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I did that.
Okay.
So you ready for the next quote?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Bruce Springsteen. When my dad looked at me, he didn't see what he needed to see. Unfortunately, my dad's desire to engage with me almost always came after the nightly religious ritual of the sacred six-pack. One beer after another in the pitch dark of our kitchen. It was always then that he wanted to see me, and it was always the same. A few minutes of feigned parental concern for my well-being, followed by the real deal, the hostility and raw anger toward his son, the only other man in the house. It was a shame. He loved me, but he couldn't stand me. He felt we competed for my mother's affections. We did. He also saw in me too much of his real self. My pop was built like a bull, always in work clothes. He was strong and physically formidable. Toward the end of his life, he fought back from death many times. Inside, however, beyond his rage, he harbored a gentleness, timidity, shyness, and a dreamy insecurity. These were all the things I wore on the outside, and the reflection of these qualities in his boy repelled him. It made him angry. It was, quote, soft, and he hated soft. Of course, he'd been brought up soft, a mama's boy, just like me.
So if that's one of your favorites, was there hostility between you and your father?
Yes. I don't know if my father caused my self-exile, my leaving the country for 19 months after dropping out of Harvard. And that exile trip with its dangers, walking 2 days deep into the mountains of Ethiopia, testing myself by walking down a dark alley. That was more scary to me, than hearing the hyenas as I approached a small town. The hyenas, when it starts to get dark, they go, whoo, whoo, whoo. Boy, I'm a bad hyena imitator. But more scary to me was the tests I would give myself. I could walk down a dark alley in Ethiopia, and to me that was like going in a cave with dragons, because I guess of a fear of the dogs more than anything. So he had to put up with me in his own way. I mean, here he paid for my high school after my parents split up, his private school, paid for my college, paid for therapy on a mixed budget, and put up with me writing a poem that called him the oppressor. Then I went into politics, which was his dream.
Uh-oh.
And he said to me, "Don't get Potomac fever," which I thought, what are you talking about? That seemed very hypocritical to me, because I thought I was trying to realize his own dream. And also I saw hypocrisy in him. We had, in our town in Manhasset, my parents had been active in trying to integrate the 3 elementary schools, which is pretty brave. My mother had actually brought 2 kids from the valley, which is where the black people lived, and brought them into my Cub Scout troop. She went to various places and said, if I want to do this, can I have a Cub Scout troop there, or den in your troop, because she wanted to, you know. So that was pretty brave for 1957 in Manhasset, Long Island, New York. So anyway, fast forward, when I was 14, 15, when my parents were getting divorced, the babysitter next door said, "Oh, I hear you guys might be moving." And I said, "Yes, we're selling our house," probably said Negroes then, or black people, to sort of get her goat. Okay. A few days later, my father pulled me aside, "I want to talk to you," like I'd done something very serious. And he said, "Did you tell them that we were selling to black people?" Or whatever, Negroes is probably the term. And I thought to myself, that should be funny from a liberal person. Why is he acted like I had done something wrong. And to me, I didn't think I'd done anything wrong. I had sort of followed, I mean, it didn't seem like something he should be criticizing me for. It was theoretically their bias, wasn't it, that it was all about? But I'm sure what had happened is the guy next door had probably said, look, you know, had probably given him a very rough time about that. But I was lucky. I didn't have a father like Bruce Springsteen. My father adored me, looked up to me. I still remember his telling me he couldn't believe it when I was like 2.5. He came home one night and saw me going up the steps, just step over step. He saw this little monkey, and he just couldn't believe that was his son, just so agile and pulling himself up. So I know also from his story that after my parents had split up, when my mom refused to go back to England with him, and she moved my sister and me to Syracuse and enrolled us in kindergarten, and I guess it was 2nd grade. And he said he came back to visit us, and I held his leg. And I have a picture of just about that time of me holding his leg too. And that, for one thing, that reminds me that I believe children understand everything. You know, that on some level I must have been so, my life was on emergency then, you know. That was my emergency room, you know, that to keep this man back in my life, this gentle man who was not a rageaholic like my mother was. She wasn't a tyrant. She was, you know, I've called her a bash and lavish. She can bash. I only remember 2 times she was physically aggressive to me or beat me, with a stick, never light bruising, but those times are deep in my memory. And sort of like a blood clot, if there's one, or as Carl Sagan said, if there's one civilization in the universe that communicates, there's probably more than one. So similarly, I think back to my mom's hitting me, and there was probably more than one. And my father, though, tried to protect me. He took me on a trip. I didn't know where we were going, but he took me to buy a file cabinet. And that file cabinet became very symbolic because, as I said in the song Invisible River, that became my new home. But he was giving me something to contain my life and the physical artifacts of my life. I remember years later, I've been 35, I was at a parking lot on Rock Creek Park. I could drive you right there. And I was getting back in my car, and I saw a man hitting his son. The kid must have been in 5th grade. Walked up to him. I didn't know what to say. I just had to walk up to him. And what I said was ironic. I said, "You need therapy." And the man looked up, and that stopped him. And the kid looked up. The kid was embarrassed. So the routine, the ritual. Now this man wasn't giving like Mike Tyson blows to the kid, but it was still a pretty good shot. Pretty good shots he was giving him. So it's, boy, oh boy, that was tough. That was tough.
So then, moving on as far as college, did you write a song about that experience?
Did I write a song about college? Well, I'm going to consider that your way of asking me to read you the Springsteen quote about high school. Is that true?
Yeah.
All right, good. As graduation time drew near, the principal of Freehold High, a basically good guy with whom I had a pretty decent détente for most of my high school years, took it upon himself to suggest at a graduation meeting that to let me attend the ceremony looking like I did, Bruce had long hair, would be a discredit and disgrace to the class. He subtly hinted that perhaps someone should do something about it. That was it for me. I would not be the subject victim of meat-headed vigilante retribution. Who said Bruce doesn't have a gift of gab? Me? I said that, didn't I? On my Freehold Regional High School graduation day, I woke up at dawn. That morning, while the house was asleep, I got dressed, went down to the bus terminal, and boarded the 6 a.m. Lincoln Transit commuter straight to New York City. I disembarked at the Port Authority, grabbed the subway to 8th Street, and walked up the stairs into the early June sunlight of Greenwich Village, feeling free as a bird. My world. I was done. Let them have their little party. I spent my graduation day wandering around the village, eating pizza, hanging in Washington Square Park, stopping in at the WA, and meeting a new girlfriend. My folks finally caught up with me at the WA and via phone told me everything would be all right if I would just come home. I caught a bus bringing my new tag-along gal pal with me. We arrived in the early evening, just hours after the ceremony. My father met me at our front door, the house filled with relatives attending my family graduation festivities. And after he took one look at my gal friend, straight back to the bus depot we went. Once my dad and I were back home, he ordered me up to my room and unscrewed and confiscated my light bulbs so I would have to sit in the dark, meditating on what I'd done. I was visited shortly by my Aunt Dora, who tried to sweet-talk some sense into me. At that moment, I just didn't care. I'd had it with the school, the family, and the whole 10-cent dog and pony show that was fucked up Freehold, New Jersey. A week later, with summer descending, I walked into the school administration's office and picked up my diploma. For me, it was Wexler's graduation party. I didn't have that problem. I didn't get criticized. I didn't have that problem. And you know, when I hear his time of what he went through, for me, my graduation ritual was Bobby Kennedy had just been shot. He was the president's little brother. He was running for president. And I was drinking beer at Wexler's house with my classmates. And my high school girlfriend was there too, more than just a gal pal. And somebody came up and said, somebody just said something terrible about Kennedy. And that made me start to cry. I don't know why. And I think it was maybe to get Dolly's attention. But I got it. So I didn't have that as bad time as Bruce did.
Okay. Well, with that, it's probably a good time to show us playing A Ticket Out. What do you think?
Okay, right here.
All right, I think they're first going to play the video of you and me, and then just you at the harbor. Right?
Okay.
Sound good to you?
Fine with me.
We'll do that.
She's the one at the bar with the white tights and shoes. She says she likes the band, especially you. But don't bother with your usual how do you do's. She's gonna help me do what I got to do. I just couldn't resist dropping in to see the old time crowd. I should have guessed she likes her music loud. Hey, I'm a little pressed. Can you help me out? I need a ticket out. On my first day at the university, I was sent to the professor of history. He said, my manuscript, can you find it for me? It's called When I Said Freedom, I Meant Freedom for Me. It'll be a success, without a doubt. I'll be very distressed if it doesn't sell out. He emptied his glass and lay down on his couch. I let myself out. I moved into the infirmary next to an instructor in divinity. She said, read to me Napoleon's biography and I'll teach you some comparative fidelity. But I couldn't get the padlock off of her blouse. Just undress and break it with your mouth. I heard the nurse suggest, let's get the hell out. You're not that devout. We ran into the Hall of Public Policy and waved to the crowd from the gallery. I shouted, it's your manifest destiny. They started to cheer most vociferously. I blew them a kiss and took a bow. The instructor ran in and cried, he won't put out. I said, a terrorist, without a doubt. They dragged her out. Okay. Saigon Prep, the professor decreed, line up for your diplomas in security. I've stacked them all up on the balcony. 62,703, dear honored guests. Please don't talk so loud. You may have guessed why they can't come out, but they passed your test without a doubt. On the way out, white tights and shoes. She says she likes the band, especially you, but don't bother with your usual how do you do's. She's gonna help me do what I've got to do. I just couldn't resist dropping in to see the hometown crowd. I should have guessed she likes her music loud. Hey, I'm a little pressed. Can you help me out? I need a ticket out. On my first day at the university, I was sent to the professor of history. He said, my manuscript, can you find it for me? It's called When I Said Freedom, I meant freedom for me. I'll be very distressed if it doesn't sell out. It'll be a success without a doubt. He emptied his glass and lay down on his couch. I let myself out. I moved into the infirmary next to an instructor in divinity. She said, read to me Napoleon's biography, and I'll teach you some comparative fidelity. But I couldn't get the padlock off of her blouse. She said, just undress and break it with your mouth. I heard the nurse suggest, let's get the hell out. You're not that devout. We ran into the Hall of Public Policy and waved to the crowd from the gallery. I shouted, it's your manifest destiny. They started to cheer most vociferously. I blew them a kiss and took a bow. The instructor ran in and cried he won't put out. I said, a terrorist without a doubt. They dragged her out. Prep the professor decree. Line up for your diplomas in security. I stacked them all up on the balcony. 58,703, dear honored guest. Please don't talk so loud. You may have guessed why they can't come out, but they passed your test without a doubt.
So from the harbor video, it looks like this song is an aphrodisiac.
You mean the two couples? Yeah, that was amazing. And that one couple, one guy shortly thereafter yelled at them, get a room, get a room. But they were well within the standards of decency. And they were so cheerful. I mean, just so bouncy. To me, it's like, it was so cool that they were responding to my music.
They certainly were. So how does hearing that song make you feel?
How does hearing that song again, boy, Wow. Wow. That was college. I went to the Vietnam Memorial several years ago to see how 40,000 kids, 18 to 20, had been sent to die, and to die brutally by our government. Whew. And I found they had papers there and like folders and stuff, and I found a guy who was born exactly on my birthday, 8/14/50. And it was the strangest thing to think we were both delivered on the earth at the same time. So that's what I'm trying to talk about there. Oh, as a matter of fact, it says here, the cartoon. Yes, here's my next cartoon. I think they have it in the control room. This looked cooler in the commercials. Whoa. Wow.
Okay, so athletics and sadness. Someone has written here. I wonder what that means.
What does athletics and sadness mean to me?
Yeah.
Stevens, you think too much. I'm so sad. My coach, oh my gosh, he's
Okay.
my coach Bob Geisinger and Gene Phillips Harshberger. Oh, I think the latter, God bless her, is in trouble now, and I think they're both 92 now, and I can't stand that I'm going to lose them. They were people from my boarding school. And Geisinger, we love him so much. There's sons of us. We were the only team that was undefeated football. And we actually had to coach ourselves in one game. That was a huge experience for me, that we did it. And I was lucky enough, and it was such a small school that I was able to excel at that school's level, which was pretty. It couldn't have gotten much lower. We would scrimmage the local high school JV team. And we got beat 52-0, and I have a fat head. Can you see it? Does the shirt make my head look fat? So I have a fat head, and this was a Quaker boarding school. The only reason I got there is because I told my dad I'd go to away to school as long as they had girls and football. Girls, nobody had
Classic.
girls except the Quakers. God bless the Quakers. Quakers are amazing. I mean, Quakers were dealing with, anyway, Quakers are amazing. But the Quakers didn't believe in violence, and so most of them didn't have football. George School had football, and it had Geisinger. But Geisinger didn't have any fat head helmets, except for an old leather thing. I mean, even then it was a throwback. It was a little blue leather, literally leather.
Do you have a picture of this? I would like to see.
I have I was upgraded.
I was
upgraded, I think, because the picture I have of the team, I think I'm in like a plastic helmet.
Okay.
So we're scrimmaging the Chamonix Junior High. We're the varsity now. We're scrimmaging their junior high, and I've got blue boy. They were taking turns because I was the running back. They were taking the turns to see who was going to have the pleasure of getting me next. So. Stevens, you think too much. Geisinger would say, I've been telling you all year to cut like that, but you never did it. When he got excited, he would talk like that. And we loved him. I was the Dillonite football player. You know, I was deep into, by that time, my senior year, I was deep into the ballad in Plain D by Bob Dylan, and what it represented to me. Do you know that Trump actually paid, this is not an alternate fact, Trump actually paid people to attend his opening. They were paid cash because they didn't have enough people.
Not surprised.
And Kiss, you know, the band Kiss, the guy that's a great book by the guy. He hired a whole band that had a following, and had them play first or second, and anyway, because he got all these industry types to come, and the industry types, the thought was would think the crowd was for him.
Smart move. All right, well, I mean, this is a good time to watch At the Gate to Hell, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
All right, play that.
At the gate to hell, they say they know you. At the gate to hell, they say you'll win. At the gate to hell, diamonds they show you. But I don't think you'll go in. On your bedroom floor, your skirt ain't weeping. On your bedroom floor, my shirt ain't torn. On your bedroom floor, they lie sleeping. They're not hurting anymore. Gate to hell, they say they know me. At the gate to hell, they say I'll win. At the gate to hell, dollars they show me. But I don't think I'll go in. Jesse Fenton on guitar.
So, what does that make you think of?
Makes me think how happy I am to have you playing with me.
Oh, shucks.
What can I say? The money trick, dollars they show me. Oh, dollars they show me. There's a cartoon I can't find. It's one of my favorites. I don't know where it is. These two languorous guys are leaning back on this big sofa at this studio, and one is saying to the other, I just wish I had the funding to really say something.
Okay.
That's sort of the money trick.
Okay, so what is roque fock?
What is roque fock?
Yeah.
Free bird! Free bird! You know, when I was playing out in the street, anybody ever yell at you?
Of course.
All the time?
All I have to do is walk around with my guitar and then you hear some
Free
person
bird. I actually sat down
yelling at you.
in my car. I have Spotify, and I played Freebird the other day. So, good
Okay.
for Freebird. Good for Freebird. But you
But
didn't.
bad for us.
You really want to know what is roque fock?
Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's like asking Alexander Fleming who invented penicillin. But I'll tell you what is roque fock.
Okay.
That's my version of folk rock. Get it? Roque fock.
Oh, golly.
You know, my son got in trouble for telling the bus driver, I gotta say it right now, you're knucking futs.
I don't know what that means.
Do you go to jail
I'll
for
get
saying
it,
you're
but I'm
knucking
laughing.
futs?
Hmm?
Should you be punished for telling somebody you're knucking futs?
No.
Okay.
No. Technically,
All right, roque fock is really funky folk space rock. People always, what kind of music you play? What do you say when people ask you that?
that. That's my reaction. Oh.
Oh, that's all you do? Okay.
Because, like, I don't know.
I don't know why.
It's up to them to describe, not up to me.
Well, but if they ask you, they haven't heard your music. And what kind of music do you play? Funky folk space rock, that's what I used to say. Now I say folk and roll.
That's good.